he'll bring a new set of excitement, a new sense of excitement to the football program, and I think that's what the football program needs right now. I think we've been good. You know, we're 8 wins this past year, 11 the year before that, so we've been on a good run, but we could do better. I mean, there's so many great memories. I do remember the first win against Concord, which was fantastic. I don't want to be an assistant. I want to be the head coach, and I don't really want to leave Wingate right now. That's just the way I feel.
We're joined by the newest, oldest head coach, newest athletic director for Wingate University, Coach Joe Reich. There's no better person to kick off this podcast with the new athletic director for the whole university.
Nice.
So
Hard
what?
to believe.
I mean, did you ever have athletic director in your cards?
I think anytime you get into coaching, and I've been in coaching for 36 years, and so I think there's always a point in there when you kick it around, when you say, I think I want to do this. When I first got into coaching, I GA'd at Georgia Tech, and I was working on a master's degree in psychology. And at the time, sports management wasn't a thing really. There wasn't really I'm sure there were majors in it, but it wasn't necessarily something people did a lot of. And I think once I became a full-time coach, then I was like, I'm going to go to a couple of different. I'm going to start to get at that point it was starting to come around. So I started thinking about it. Like maybe I should get a degree in sports management, athletic administration. To just have for down the road, if it's something that I ultimately wanted to do somewhere down the road. I saw myself coaching till I was 70 and beyond.
I saw that too.
Yeah. So really, but at the same time, I was like, okay, there's also, I think you can appreciate this because you've run your own businesses. You've been a leader your entire career. When you were a player for us, you were a leader. As a business owner, you're a leader. I think there's always certain challenges that you say to yourself, I need to challenge myself in this way.
Yep.
And I think in terms of running a football program, I still had a lot to learn. We had not accomplished everything that we had not accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, all that stuff. And you're constantly learning and striving. And I thought, the thought had been going through my mind probably the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
This would be a good way to do this. So, it was, but I never thought it would be this quick. I thought it would be somewhere else. The opportunity arose. They presented it to me. It was kind of shocking, but I can't begin to tell you how appreciative I was of the fact that they let me, that they asked me to be the athletic director, and I jumped at it because it was more. I think it's more about the leadership challenge, right? It's a new challenge. You've been a football coach for a long time, and I had been a head coach here for 23 years. And it was like, you know what? I think this will stretch me in a lot of different ways, and I felt like I probably needed that. You
probably feel kind of reinvigorated.
I do.
You got, like you said, new challenges.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And I'll say this too. I think the fact that I had Rasan Jordan in the on deck circle, and if it hadn't been Rasan, it would have been Mike Long. If it hadn't been Mike Long, it would have been Travis Knight. I have a deep bench. We had a deep bench in football, and so the idea that this is the bench of potential replacements, guys that could do. It's a humbling thought, but they could probably do my job better than me. So it's like, okay, let's move Rasan up, and I think he'll bring a new set of excitement, a new sense of excitement to the football program, and I think that's what the football program needs right now. I think we've been good. We're 8 wins this past year, 11 the year before that, so we've been on a good run. But we could do better. I got to be honest with you, we could do better. I could do better, and I think from that standpoint, my answer to that is now the new athletic director is to move Rasan up to the head coaching position. Again, if it hadn't been Mike, or if it hadn't been Rasan, would have been Mike, or Travis, or anyone. But like, to me, Rasan is the guy. I think he'll bring some good juice to the program. I think he's exciting to the alums, particularly the defensive alums that have played for him. Even the offensive guys are fired up about that. So
I don't want to say polar opposite, but pretty opposite personalities.
Very opposite personalities. In a lot of ways, very similar in a lot of ways. We're probably similar in more ways than what most players know.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the conversations that Rasan and I would have off the field, we're very similar in a lot of ways. We're totally different in the outward appearance of everything. But I think we think about things. I think about things a lot very similarly overall, but we just our reaction to things is probably different. Our way of expressing ourselves is obviously a lot different.
Yeah.
He'll come. Here's what we always do. In fact, he and I have joked around, but we've always said he comes off to the players as this highly emotional, highly volatile, blah blah blah, which is true, but he is highly intellectual, highly well thought out, very thorough in what he does. It's been kind of a joke since we were at the last place. We coached together at the University of Buffalo together, and one of our statements was, over-exaggerating for effect. That was actually Craig Service, who we worked under at University of Buffalo. He mentioned that to us in passing one day, and we kind of just still joke around about that. There's certain things that you just do to get an effect on the team, and I think Rasan does that kind of stuff really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was playing here, he coached me on punt team, and then he left for my last 2 seasons.
Yep.
But that was my only interaction was punt team, and he was very intense for me because on the offensive side of the ball, we were a little different.
Right.
And so when I would talk to my friends about playing for Coach Jordan, because I'm like, gosh, he's tough. I only see him for 10 minutes a day, and it is tough. And they're like, he's the best coach I've ever had.
That's awesome.
He has so much compassion and care. You don't have to listen. He's never degrading you. He's doing everything he does to make you a better human. It's nothing about anything else.
Totally. He's got a reason why. There's a reason for everything.
Yep.
One of my mentors, a guy by the name of Hank Small. Hank was a Gettysburg College graduate, as am I, but 20 years before I was. And he, maybe not 20. He'd probably yell at me for saying that. I was close to 20. But he told me a long time ago when he was an AD. He was a head coach for a long time, and then he was an AD for a while. And when he was a head coach, when I first became the head coach here, he was the first guy I went to, and in talking about hiring staff. And his philosophy, one I've kept to this day, is hire an offensive coach that has a good system, that knows the ins and outs of a system. If this, then that. If you're going to bring this, we're going to go to this. So hire an offensive coach that has a good system. Hire a defensive coach that the players are going to play for him. Guy that just they're going to bleed for him. They're going to froth at the mouth for him. They will go to the ends of the earth for your defensive coordinator, and that's him. That's exactly who I hired in terms of that. But I had the added advantage of him just being so intelligent. I'll give you a good example. One of the last games of the year, we're playing somebody. We won 7 out of the last 8, and I wish I could remember exactly who we were playing, but we're playing one of the games at the end of the year, and they came out, team come out, and a lot of times against us, teams will come out in something offensively almost totally different, just because we've been really good on defense, and I'm clicking over on the defensive side, and we're struggling through the first series because they're doing some different stuff, So I kind of click over and I'm listening to him, and he's like, "We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this." Shut him down the rest of the game. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Just immediately,
and that's the added benefit. I think not only does Rasan have the ability to get the players to play for him, he's got the natural intelligence, and he works at it enough to know, here's what we're going to.
And I think as players and, people that watch the game, we don't get to see that as much because you get him at level 10 or more.
And I think I guess that's the point of even saying that, is that it's funny to me because the players only see him in their frame of reference.
Right.
And that's all true. But behind the scenes, he's not exactly what you think in terms of, you think this guy's going to be frothing in the mouth full 24 hours a day. Yeah. You can't keep that up.
When I come and visit, he's some of the best conversations I had because he's completely different.
Totally different. Really well learned, I think is the best thing. You can talk to him about anything. You can go in his office and start throwing about, world history or politics or religion or,
and he wants to learn.
Anything.
Yes. He was asking me all about business stuff. I think a couple of times ago when I came, he was asking all about whatever I was doing, and he was like, "I truly want to know about that. It's interesting."
That is Rasan Jordan to a T. And that's why I just think, you know, his desire to grow in a lot of areas. I think a lot of I think Mike Long's like that. I think he's, you know, Mike is our offensive coordinator is very similar to that. Like, he likes to learn. He likes to, you know, Mike has actually pushed me in a couple areas where he'll give me ideas on certain things, and I'll expand my horizon a little bit with that as well. So yeah, it's really been very fortunate.
Interesting. Yeah. So, you know, my wife and I, for the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, you know, we've been very good in football, and
Right.
every season after the season, you think Coach Reich's going to stay? You know, do you think he's going to go somewhere bigger?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, like I do think he's going to get recruited to a small D1 school or
Right.
somewhere close. I know you have, you know, the house around here and family, like you've got your roots here.
Sure.
You know, your wife works here at the school, so like you're in Wingate.
Yeah.
But I was like, he's too good. Like he's gonna go someplace bigger. He's gonna get recruited away.
I wish that were the case in terms of being too good thing. It's football coaching is an interesting thing. I think. I've had interest. I've had some people call me over the years. Most of my opportunities to leave have been as an assistant. Mm-hmm.
Now, my biggest thing when your brother was at Indianapolis, I was like, Coach Reich's done. Like, yeah. I'm going to go on the record and say this. I think he's going, and I don't know what he's going to do there because, you know, it's going to be tough because family playing favorites, but like he'll do something there that's beneficial. Right. And I was like, he's going now. That was
an interesting, and I've got that reaction from a lot of people. I think Indianapolis was, when Frank got the job in Indianapolis, which was fantastic for him, he and I talked about it. It was definitely, it was a consideration. And it was, I think the thing was, you know, as an individual, sure, I had, you know, you think about, can I get to Division I? Can I get to the NFL? Can I do that? Can I be this as a head coach? I didn't get into this business to be an assistant coach. No offense to people who've been full-time assistant, you know, career assistant. It's just, it was never my intention. I wanted to become a head coach.
Well, and to be honest, you're, you know, no offense to you, but like, I don't think you'd be a good assistant coach. You're a very good leader of delegating. Yeah. You hire people better than you at specializing in certain things, and you can delegate.
So my whole plan was, I'll give you a good example. So when Jeff Munkin, who's now the head coach at Army, West Point, so Jeff called me, this is 2009, and said, hey, I'm about to take the job at Georgia Southern, which was an FCS program at the time, 1AA at the time. And he said, I want you to come along, be an assistant. And it was either going to be defensive coordinator or it was going to be associate head coach. And in our talking, I said, okay, well, and he hadn't offered me a job yet. And I said, Jeff, here's what I want you to do. I said, don't hire me as a defense coordinator because I'd been a defense coordinator at Buffalo and our defenses were not good there, just for a lot of different reasons. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. Like it is what it is. Like we just weren't very good. But you can hire me as associate coach because that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I said, so if you're going to offer me a job as associate head coach. And then he was kind of like, what are you looking to do? And I said, well, look, Jeff, I got to be honest with you. I said, I didn't get in this to be an assistant.
I'm looking to be the head coach, but you can have the title.
Well, what I said to him, I said, Jeff, do you want to know my plan? I said, my plan is to come in, be your associate head coach for 2 or 3 years, turn it around, get a head coach job in your league, come back and kick your ass. That was, and he started laughing. He goes, that's probably not what you should say in an interview. And I'm like, well, we're not interviewing. Yeah. Two friends and I talk. I actually told my brother that, and he goes, why would you tell anybody that? And I'm like, because I didn't want, look, Jeff's a friend of mine. Yeah. He's offered me, I want him to know this is what I was thinking. Right. So when Frank and I talked, you know, I was telling him, look, I will come in here. This is actually kind of funny in the light of recent events. Mm-hmm. You know, my thing was, you know, there won't be anybody more loyal to you in the organization than me. Mm-hmm. So if you decide to hire me, I will tell you the truth no matter what, because you're my brother. And I will come in and I will tell you exactly what I think. I will tell you exactly what I think should happen, and you can do whatever you want to do with it. Mm-hmm. And I will have your back in every case. When we walk out of this room, we're going to be on the same page. So we talked about that. And then he called me a couple days later. He said, okay, I need to talk to the owner. I need to talk to Mr. Ursay. I need to talk to this. I need to talk to that. And he said, I'll get back to you. And I was sitting on the couch, and I was waiting for the phone call because it was like we'd said, hey, he said, I'm going to call you at 7 o'clock tonight, whatever it was. So as getting close to 7 o'clock, my wife was standing near me and she looks at me and she goes, well, what are you thinking? And I said, it's really telling right now that I'm sitting here thinking, I hope he calls me and tells me that he can't hire me because I don't think I want to leave. I don't want to be an assistant. I want to be the head coach. Mm-hmm. And I don't really want to leave Wingate right now. That's just the way I feel. Mm-hmm. And he called me 2 minutes later and he's like, I don't think I can hire you. Mr. Irsay's, the people around Mr. Irsay are a little, and I'm like, bro,
That's fine.
Don't say anymore.
Yeah.
I said, I tell you this, I will never ask for a job ever again from you. Never. Mm-hmm. I will never ask you for a job. Yep. I said, if you think that I fit in somewhere, then you call me and we'll talk about it.
Right.
And so when he got the job in Carolina, it wasn't even a discussion. Mm-hmm. It was like,
well, I mean, he had so many other former head coaches around him. He's probably like, there's a lot of cooks here.
Sure. And that was interesting too, because I think, we could do a whole episode on that. Full disclaimer, he and I haven't talked about it at all. So I don't know the inner workings of any of that. I'm going to tell you my concern with him taking that job, and I have no problem saying this on the record, was, knowing Matt Rule's a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. Okay. Knowing that Matt hadn't gotten fired from there, I was concerned that, boy, this is
tough situation.
This is going to be really tough. And then knowing that it was going to be the owner was going to kind of dictate, I think, some of who they were able to hire. Mm-hmm. You and I know this as well as anything. This is a tough business, man. You've got to have people that you're with 24/7. I mean, it's a grind, particularly at that level. Even our level, Division II, you are with those guys all the time. Mm-hmm. Those guys, you have to be on the same page. Those guys have to have your back. Like, it is, because it's you against the world. It is this staff against the world. And if it's not that way, if it's kind of every man for himself, it'll never work out. Yep. And the concern I had in terms of hiring multiple guys from multiple places that maybe you don't know as much is they don't know you as much, and there's just not that loyalty factor.
Loyalty goes a long way.
There's no doubt. And again, full disclosure, I haven't talked to him at all about that for this exact reason.
Right.
I have plausible deniability that I can never say something I'm not supposed to say. So this is just Joe Reich talking.
Yeah.
When I look at that situation that happened in Carolina, it's more like, okay, if to me, if I'm going in, I'm not just hiring somebody I know because I know them. They have to be qualified. But I know I know enough people that I could get some good qualified people in there or wherever I'm coaching. So I know that's a really long answer to the leaving question, but I think so. At some point down the road, we just kind of made a decision. This is where we make our stand. Yeah. Wingate University is where we make our stand, and then the opportunity comes up to be the athletic director, which was a whole nother story.
You got the interim last year,
right?
And when you got that, my wife looked at me once again. She said, "Do you think he's done after this year?" I said, "Oh no, of course not." and about maybe 2 or 3 days before it was announced, I had texted you and was talking about or you had texted me. We were talking about this podcast of getting it started, and you alluded to. You said something along the lines of, if it's up to me, I think it's a great idea. Yeah. And I said, the only way I'm doing this is if you're still here. And you said, I'll still be here. I said, all right, then we're doing this. Right. And then, very shortly later, it's you're the athletic director. I said, oh, okay, it all makes sense now.
Yeah. It was, I knew when the season started that this was going to be the end game, that this was going to be. So I tell you what, it was a difficult season in terms of knowing it was my last, knowing that nobody else knew that except for Rasan and my wife, and kind of going through the season knowing, okay, this is your last season, but I didn't want it to be a big deal. I didn't want, I don't want the focus ever to not be on where it should be. And I just felt like for the staff, it would have been disconcerting if they hadn't really known what the story was going to be. If they knew that I was done at the end of the year, I just felt like it would have been too much of a distraction.
And then people could have said, "Oh, he's not trying, or he's trying to do too many things." Yeah. We don't need a different narrative other than we try to win as many games as we possibly can.
Yes, and the fact that like I said, we, for all intents and purposes, we came one play away from winning the conference. If there was a number of plays that if we make them in the Tusculum game, and we win that game, then we're playing for the conference championship because we have the tiebreaker against Lenore Ryan. So we would then have been playing actually Mars Hill in the conference championship because Tusculum wouldn't have been in there either. So it would have totally, so 1 or 2 plays in that game totally, which is, you have played for me, you know this. We talk about 3, 4, 5, 6 plays in a game make the difference. Well, it's true about that in a year. So really, you could take 1 or 2 plays in that Tusculum game, change our whole year. We win that game, we play for the conference championship, and the rest is history kind of thing. So I am proud of the fact that we won 7 out of the last 8. We weren't distracted. It was able to go through, and so I knew at the end of the year, hey, this is going to be it. I'm going to be the AD, which was good because then during the year I could kind of start to focus on that. When I was not doing football stuff, I know, okay, because the AD thing is, I got a lot to learn. I mean, it's a big learning curve. I'm not going to be lying to you. Now, I will say this. I have a fantastic support staff in terms of the people that are working as ADs, associate ADs, assistant ADs, and they have made things unbelievably easy for me. But now it's time for me to take over and just do the things in the department that I feel like we need to. The direction that I need to go, that we need to go, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think it's an exciting time for Wingate. You've got a tough position to be in. We've won, 18, 19, 20 Eccles Awards in a row. I mean, it's like every year. It's not even it's not even cool to announce it that we've won because it's like, it's just expected now. Yeah, so you've got a lot of shoes to fill with that one.
There's no doubt. When we've won, I think the official, it's either 14 or 15 right now. I think it's 15. 14, whatever it is. So it's a lot. So,
it's a lot.
And you're right. And it's people been nipping in our heels here for a while. And I think that, the administration from a financial standpoint, it's one of those deals where, I think they want to support the program, but they also have other priorities as well, which understandable. Yeah. So like everybody else, we have to kind of fight that battle to a certain extent. And been very fortunate. Now I will say this. You take over, Sheldon Collier had left. Kirk Sanaki left shortly after that. So you're talking about two Hall of Fame coaches in the department. And that's nerve-wracking but exciting at the same time because, Lauren Tekovic was hired before I got here. She's been fantastic. Kevin Hennessy we were able to hire off of Kirk's staff. So we have two, what we think are 2 phenomenal replacements for them, and it's neat because it's neat to see them at the beginning of their careers. Obviously Tech took the volleyball team into the regionals, won the conference during the year, did not win the conference tournament, but got into the regionals, had a win in the regional, that kind of thing. So that's exciting. I think she's going to be really good down the road, and obviously Kevin with the swim team I think is going to be fantastic. So. It's exciting, and I think that's, a big part of my learning curve is, handling coaches from other sports and just it's definitely been different and exciting in a lot of ways. Like I said, the leadership challenge alone was worth the experience for me.
Yeah. So, through the years of Wingate football, we've been pretty dang successful, even since I've been here. And I think maybe 3 or 4 seasons before I got here, I don't know if we've had a losing record, maybe 1.
Right.
So for you, there's a lot of good memories.
Sure.
Can you, kind of go through 1 or 2 of those, your favorite memories of games?
Yeah, it was interesting. You're right, because I've been the head coach here for 23 years.
I know. I was talking to somebody, and they asked when I graduated. They're like, "Oh, I had someone go to Wingate. When did you graduate?" And I was like, "Well, 09, 010. Like I graduated early, so I always say 09 because that's when I played. So that's in my brain. I'm like, I was done in 09, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're a lot older than me."
That's right.
And I'm like, "Whoa, no!"
Yeah,
like I still remember every game, like I just played it.
That's so funny. I think from my standpoint, there's so many great memories. I do remember the first win against Concord, which was fantastic. That was just neat. The first time we beat a ranked opponent was Tusculum.
Okay.
I told the team they could shave my head in the locker room if we won that game because it was the opening game in the conference. They were ranked, and we beat them. And I did shave my head. Now it wouldn't matter because I don't have enough shave. But at the time, it was fun. And then we lost the next week on a Hail Mary, and then the next week we came back and we played Catawba, who was ranked 4th in the country at the time. and we and so I, there were so many stories about that game. Just we had probably the greatest week of practice in the history of weeks of practice. I don't know if I could bottle that up.
That's unlikely for us going into a tough game.
Yeah,
we usually practice terrible
because you're so focused on the game. This was just, I think we came out of we lost the week before. We had beaten Tusculum. We lost the week before to the team from Hickory on a last second pass, and then and they were kind of middle of the road at the time, and then we go to play Catawba. They're fourth in the country. They had been to the playoffs a number of years, and Coach Jordan's like, I don't know that we can stop these guys. I mean, they're so good. And we had the greatest week of practice. We dominated the game. We beat them. The final was, I think, 35-21, but it was worse than that. I mean, we really, I think we turned it over a couple times. Otherwise, it was a runaway. And we were leading. It was well in hand. And I remember talking to Chip Hester, their coach, right before the game. And Chip says, wow, you guys beat Tusculum. Yeah, we do. I said, and this is Chip. Chip says, well, then you got to beat in the Hail Mary. Like, yeah. And he goes, guess you guys are pretty fired up. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, we had a great practice. And he said, guess you had a great practice. I said, Chip, I'm going to tell you this. And I said, I don't mean, this is not gamesmanship. We had the best week of practice ever. And he goes, oh, shoot. And that's the way we played. And it was in my time here, it may be the number. People ask me, oh, it's got to be when you win the conference. No, it was probably that Catawba game. Yeah. It was just such a highlight. Beating West Georgia in the playoffs a few years ago was phenomenal because it was such a good game and we played so well. Winning the conference in 2010, there was a lot of good games out of that. Beating LR this last year was a cool memory because you look at LR, they were undefeated at the time, and
they were maybe 12th or something. 9th. Yeah, they were up there.
I think they may have been as high as 8th at that point in one of the polls.
Yeah.
So knocking them off was a good win for us. It's funny because at the time we were like, okay, that was a good win,
and because we were bad at that point.
Yeah, it was a good win for us, and then we were like, okay, wow, we're going to keep winning.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, LR just kept winning, and obviously Mike Jacobs has done a great job there, but they just kind of kept winning after that win. I'm like, wow, okay, that's so. But yeah, there's, and I think the other thing is you think over 23 years is. All the different players, and because a lot of times you can remember recruiting them. Like I can remember Ryan Weber coming in and saying, "Hey, I want to transfer from Guilford," and I played for this guy Kevin Kiesel at Guilford,
and you knew him.
Kiesel was one of my coaches in college, and I called Kevin, and Kevin was like, "Yeah, he's a decent player," And I remember thinking, okay, and then I just remember the first day you got here. And you were practicing for us, and I was like, "This kid's pretty good. Like this kid, this kid's better than what I thought he was going to be."
Well, I also think I grew 2 more inches and put on another 20 pounds since the end of my freshman year.
Right, and I remember that. I remember that. I just the whole so to see guys that are coming up when you recruit them, and then they get here, and you see how they develop, and and you see like, wow, this is. Like a good example is Ethan Evans, right? Who's playing for the Rams. Like you see, you recruit him. I remember this. I remember him coming for a visit. I remember he came to a prospect camp. Blah 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 blah. And then you see how they develop. And I remember thinking, why is this? How do we have a shot at this kid? Like this kid's so good. Like why do we have a shot at this kid? Kid and then come being a 4-year starter, force him to play in the NFL. All the way, David Jones, but it's not just always about those guys. Like I can remember Brad Rice, guys that didn't play for us, that but stayed their whole time, played. One of my things has always been there's a place where everybody adds value, and when you look at the guys over the course of 23 years, the superstars, those are great. The John Bowmans of the world, David Jones, Kenwin Cummings. Ethan Evans, all those guys. Those guys, that's cool, right? That's you win a lot of games with those guys, and I have the utmost respect for those guys. But I have just as much respect for the guys that maybe didn't play ever. I look at the seniors from this last group, and there were several guys in there that we played them in the last game. That's the first time they've ever played in a game. But they stayed,
and they were instrumental in the success of the program.
Absolutely.
Because of what they did to push.
Because of what they did.
Yeah.
Yes, because of what they did in practice, because of the kind of people they are. And I think sometimes players think that maybe I'm just feeding them a line there when I say that about everybody has a place where they add value.
Later in your life, you'll understand that's true.
Yeah, and I think and you can appreciate that as a business owner yourself. Like everybody adds value to the program when they're, or everybody has the potential of adding value to the program. And I think we've had players that have bought into that. And so to me, it's much about those guys, the Brad Rices of the world, the guys, all the other guys I can think of hundreds of guys that have played for us that really didn't play much, but that stuck it out and were, just they contributed so much to the program just with attitude and effort and practice habits, doing well in the classroom, doing stuff, Joe Pignataro, like when Pig was here, he wasn't a great player by any stretch of imagination. He'd be the first one to tell you that. I put that kid on scholarship because he was such a great recruiter. He was so good with the guys on recruiting weekends, and we had him on the player panel, and he would we'd come in at the end of the player panel, and he'd be like holding court in there. Guys would be laughing and blah, blah, and he was so good. I'm like, I called him, I said, Pig, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm putting you on scholarship. And he's like, Coach, I don't care if you ever play down for us. You are the best recruiter we have.
Yeah, and it's valuable to the program.
No doubt, no doubt. So to me, that's the exciting thing of being, and I think, the exciting thing now is with Hassan taking over and Travis Knight being his defensive coordinator, guys that have come through the system and have been here, they know that. Like those are guys that they're going to buy into that and say, okay, we're going to continue to drive the culture of the program. They'll do it in their own unique way, and they'll have to be them. That just like I had to be me when I became the head coach. My college head coach was totally different from me. He's more like Rasan.
Okay.
I had to just be who I was.
And you were, people don't know this, you were offensive lineman.
I was an offensive lineman, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
And Kevin Kiesel, your college head coach, was one of my position coaches. He was my sophomore year. My freshman year was Kevin Higgins, who's been a longtime assistant at Wake Forest.
Interesting.
Was the head coach at the Citadel, was head coach at Elon for a number of years. So I've been very fortunate in that respect. I've had some really good coaches, but Rasan and Travis and those guys have been here, and I think they'll do it in their own way, but they will kind of carry that along. Like, okay, everybody adds value in the program.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of moving forward, obviously people are excited. People don't know what's happening. It's, big changes. We haven't had a change in the football head coach in 20 some years. And then, prior to this, generally we had Steve Poston in the athletic director position for 30 years, maybe. It was a long time.
Actually, Steve became the athletic director about 3 months after I became the head coach.
Okay.
So we was joking around. We basically came in together. But there was a woman by the name of Doreen McAfee, who I knew as Doreen Drexel back when we were both coaching together at Gettysburg College.
Okay.
So there's all convoluted story there. But when Doreen came in, she was the AD for less than a year. Mr. Poston had been at several different positions on campus. And then when Doreen left, Mr. Poston moved into that, and he's, the guy's a legend. The guy's an absolute legend. And I remember thinking, okay, I certainly don't want to follow that guy, and then, when we had Kelly Kish for about a year in between, and that was, again, Kelly was great. I, did a lot of, Kelly was a good, was great with her systems and great with a lot of things in terms of their organization of the program, and really had some great ideas that when I came in, I was like, wow, there's some really good stuff here in terms of that. She was totally different personality-wise from Steve, and that was just a unique situation. And then obviously with the university was making some cuts at the time and decided, hey, they're going to retract some positions. And unfortunately, Kelly was one of those positions. That's where I became the interim AD. And then they, at the end of the year, things were a little bit better, and we were able to restore that. So, you replace somebody like Mr. Poston. Wow, I mean that's a tall order.
Yeah.
And again, I had the same thing. Kind of when I can't replace Mr. Poston. He is a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. He's not only a Hall of Fame athletic director, he's a Hall of Fame person.
Right.
So it's like, okay, don't try to be Steve Poston. Be who I am. and I'm going to make a ton of mistakes, particularly early on, but just be who I am and just be true to that and have your own vision of the athletic department and let's go.
Yeah. No, I mean, you've always promoted going and visiting and watching the other sport. So it's not like it's only football. Like,
sure.
No, you made us go watch other teams and support the rest of the athletic program. So I don't think there's going to be any issues with that. But, do you have any specific things that you're looking forward to or you're trying to achieve for the athletic department?
Yeah, I think number one, there were definitely a couple programs that were looking at starting. One in particular, we're looking at starting beach volleyball, and by the time this podcast plays, I'm hoping that we will be well on our way to having that done. At the time we're recording this, it's still a little bit in the early stages. Not early stages; it's a little further than that, but it's exciting because when you start looking at the program, you start thinking, wow, there's a lot of possibilities for this. We could really, this could be pretty cool because our volleyball team is so good. Lauren's done such a good job with the volleyball team. So if we bring in beach volleyball, we would want that to be totally separate from our volleyball program. But we think that could be a good supporting. Right. Hey, these the two kind of just reinforce one another, so to speak. So. And then from there, it's just, when I became, as the head coach, the head football coach, a lot of the skill sets are similar. Skill sets are similar in terms of, hey, the things that I had to do as a head football coach are very similar to the things that I have to do as an athletic director in a lot of ways. So laying out the vision for it, a lot of it is, our number one thing is we're here to educate, right? So, we go beyond the classroom. That's kind of one of the things we said in football all the time. And I think as an athletic department, we want to say that. The Wingate University exists to educate. There are a lot of other things. Yeah, we want to help you get a good job. We want to help you do this, we want to do that. But the number one thing is we're here to educate our students and our student athletes. And so that to me is great. Let's take that as a athletic department and say, okay, let's take that part of it, the whole faith, knowledge, service thing of the university, and let's make sure that we are first and foremost educating our student athletes on whatever it is. And I kind of leave that up to each individual coach, right? Because as a football coach, I have a different set of guys than what Jamie Stancliffe in softball has, right? The women that she coaches, she may want to teach them a totally different area, focus on that. You can only teach so much, but Jamie may say, here, I want to focus on that because she does a phenomenal job. Let's focus on this particular area there. And in football, it was, okay, here's what I wanted to focus on in football. So what I've told the coaches is, I just want you educating them. I don't even care what it is. Just educate them and make them better human beings. So when they walk out of here, they're better spouses, they're better parents, they're better human beings. They're going to contribute to our world in a positive way, kind of thing. So that was number one. Number two is to win. That's be a
just good human
line.
And win.
Yeah, that's a good combination. And so I think a lot of times if you're going to be a good human being and you're going to do things the right way, you're probably going to win a lot of games anyway. So I think those two kind of go hand in hand, and then there's some others up beyond that, but it keep it focused on keep the main thing. Let's go. So and there's still things I'm developing, still programs. It's still young. It's this is a marathon to me, not a sprint. I'm a lot older than you, but I'm still relatively young. So
You're still spry.
That's right. So I'm hoping I can be in this seat for a long time. I don't have a plan beyond this. There's no I'm going to be the AD here and then move up. And that's not the point. I think for my thing, it's like, okay, let's be as great as we can be here, whatever that looks like. Ultimately, let's do that. Let's find a way to do that, and then and then just continue to get better.
Yeah. No, I think I speak for everybody from Wingate University. We're excited. We're really looking forward to kind of this next chapter of not just you, the football program, but, the school in general. It's just continuing to grow. We've got so much positive things that are happening around here. And, I don't think that anybody is disappointed with the direction that we're heading, and hopefully we can just continue growing.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it, Ron. I appreciate everything that you've done for our program over the years too. So let's keep this rolling.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we appreciate you listening to the OneDog Podcast, and we will see you on the next episode.